Can't tell your Carnage from your Knull? No idea what a symbiote is? Fear not, here's everything you need to know about Eddie Brock and his lil pal from outer space. While Venom and many of the characters in these movies are based on Marvel Entertainment properties, they don't inhabit the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Instead, the Venom trilogy takes place in a shared cinematic universe known publicly as Sony's Spider-Man universe. In addition to the Venom movies, the SSU includes 2022's Morbius, 2024's Madam Web, and the upcoming Kraven the Hunter.
We are predators.
Though set in the same universe, there has been little interplay to date between the characters and stories in each movie. Each of the characters starring in the SSU movies began in the comics as Spider-Man adversaries, but the current live-action Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland, lives in a totally different universe. There have certainly been references to Spider-Man in several of the SSU films, but Holland's Spider-Man still remains very much in the MCU. And while Venom may have some experience in the multiverse, The Last Dance appears to be firmly set in the SSU. Eddie Brock is depicted relatively close to the comic book source material in the Venom movies, with the character working as an investigative journalist when he's introduced in Venom. Eddie is based out of San Francisco, and when we first meet him, he's engaged to attorney Anne Wang. After reading classified documents from Anne's employer, the Life Foundation, regarding illegal human trials, Eddie decides to investigate. When Eddie confronts Life Foundation CEO Carlton Drake, however, Drake not only deflects all suspicion, but has both Eddie and Anne terminated from their jobs.
We're not finished.
Yes, you are, Mr. Brock.
Is that a threat?
Have a nice life.
6 months later, Anne has broken up with Eddie and is dating someone else, while Eddie is stuck in a professional rut. Determined to expose Drake and have his journalistic credibility restored, Eddie begins secretly working with life scientist Dora Skirth. While examining one of the symbiotes that Life had been using on its test subjects, Eddie accidentally bonds with it. Eddie barely escapes the Life laboratories with the symbiote, and Drake has Skirth killed for her betrayal. Back home, Eddie begins to act strangely due to his bond with the symbiote, including hearing a strange voice that identifies itself as Venom.
Food.
Who said that?
The symbiote voice reveals to Eddie that it traveled to Earth via asteroid and then spaceship, intending to find a suitable planet to conquer. When mercenaries hired by Drake attack Eddie to recover the symbiote, Venom forms around him, giving him the superhuman abilities necessary to defeat them. Venom agrees to help Eddie take on the Life Foundation in return for Eddie keeping the symbiote nourished with human victims. Discovering what happened to Eddie, Anne and her new doctor boyfriend Dan Lewis learn that Venom is causing Eddie's health to deteriorate. Concerned with what this is doing to Eddie, Anne uses an MRI machine to separate the symbiote from him, taking advantage of the symbiote's weakness to high-pitched noise. However, when a symbiote known as Riot bonds with Drake, Venom returns to Eddie to stop the new threat. With Eddie and Venom bonded together again, Venom informs Eddie he has gained a greater appreciation for Earth and humanity. Venom also finds a kinship with Eddie, revealing he was something of a social outcast among the symbiotes on his homeworld. Working together better than ever, Venom takes on Riot as the villain prepares to send a space probe to bring more symbiotes to Earth. After a prolonged battle, the probe is destroyed along with Riot and Drake. No longer obstructed by Drake, Eddie is able to expose him and the Life Foundation for their crimes, restoring his journalistic integrity and career. Though Anne chooses to remain with Reed, she and Eddie reconcile. Eddie decides to not tell Anne and Dan that he is still bonded with Venom, continuing to operate in secret around San Francisco. To stabilize the bond and prevent Eddie's health from worsening, the two agree to consume dangerous criminals to keep Venom satiated.
We are Venom.
Decades before the events of Venom, aspiring serial killer Cletus Cassidy terrorized the San Francisco area. Cletus's lover, Frances Barrison, possesses the ability to scream at sonic volumes, earning her the nickname Shriek, but she is soon sent to the maximum security facility known as the Ravencroft Institute. During the transfer, Shriek uses her powers to permanently damage the hearing of young cop Patrick Mulligan, who retaliates by shooting her in the eye. While Shriek is detained at Ravencroft, Cletus becomes a notorious murderer and is eventually imprisoned in San Quentin, where he is given the death penalty.
There's gonna be carnage.
In present day, Mulligan has since been promoted to a detective, but he's unaware that Shriek is alive and detained at Ravencroft. Cletus is kept alone in a cell separated from the rest of the inmates because of the threat that he poses to them. With Eddie's journalistic profile increasing as he resumes his career, Cletus decides that Eddie is the only person he is willing to let interview him prior to his execution. And as there are still a number of missing victims linked to Cletus, Eddie agrees to meet with the killer in his cell. After meeting with Cletus, Venom's extraterrestrial intuition helps Eddie locate the bodies of Cletus's missing victims. News from these revelations boost Eddie's career while heightening Cletus's unhealthy interest in the intrepid journalist. With Cletus's execution impending, Eddie visits the murderer at his cell one last time, where Cletus goads him into getting too close to the bars. Cletus bites Eddie's hand and ingests a portion of the Venom symbiote in Eddie's blood, quietly bonding with it, unbeknownst to Eddie. As Cletus's scheduled execution by lethal injection is about to begin, the Carnage symbiote emerges to protect him. Carnage breaks free and goes on a renewed killing spree across San Quentin. After killing a number of guards and prison officials before freeing his fellow inmates, Carnage arrives in San Francisco and begins plotting his next moves. Carnage already fosters a deep hatred towards his father symbiote Venom, and the bonded duo plan their bloody retribution against him and Eddie.
Oh, hell yes.
Cletus and Carnage break Shriek free from Ravencroft Asylum, and together the couple set fire to the orphanage where they met before setting their sights back on San Francisco. These developments make Mulligan suspicious, and he decides to arrest Eddie based on his strange behavior. Mulligan is shocked to learn that not only is Shriek alive, but she's also back with Cletus. Bolder and deadlier than ever, Carnage and Shriek decide to share a twisted marriage ceremony at San Francisco's Grace Cathedral. To commemorate the unholy matrimony, the pair kidnap Mulligan and bring him with them to the cathedral as a sort of witness. These developments come at a particularly inconvenient time for Venom, who has had a bitter spat with Eddie just as Cletus and Shriek's criminal activities were escalating. As Carnage is formed, the symbiosis between Eddie and Venom nearly irreparably ruptures just when they're needed the most. By the events of Venom Let There Be Carnage, the Venom symbiote has become increasingly restless being bonded to Eddie for so long. When Eddie keeps refusing to lessen the restrictions on the criminals they face, their relationship reaches a breaking point. The symbiote separates itself from Eddie and goes looking for a new host it can get along with, leaving Eddie without Venom's protection. After learning from Mulligan that Cletus is on the loose, however, Eddie contacts Anne for her help in locating Venom. At a rave, Venom shares his issues with Eddie to a supportive crowd, helping him regain a sense of self-worth.
I love you too!
Anne eventually tracks down Venom after he bonds to Mrs. Chen, a local convenience store owner who knows Eddie. Anne convinces Venom to forgive Eddie and allows the symbiote to bond with her so she can bring him to Eddie while Mulligan has him detained. Reunited, Eddie and Venom decide to confront Carnage and Shriek at Grace Cathedral and destroy them together. Venom interrupts Carnage and Shriek's makeshift wedding at the cathedral, where Shriek hangs Mulligan with a chain, seemingly killing him. Carnage proves to be stronger and more vicious than Venom, nearly killing the hero before Venom starts fighting more strategically. Venom tricks Shriek into using her sonic scream to separate Cletus from the Carnage symbiote before devouring him. In a resulting destruction, falling rubble from the cathedral crushes Shriek, killing her. Though Mulligan appeared dead, he is revealed to have survived his hanging in the aftermath. He is last seen opening his eyes, which now glow blue. Given how we see him in trailers for Venom: The Last Dance, it appears Mulligan has bonded with a symbiote himself. Mulligan's comic book history suggests he may become the supervillain Toxin, having taken on a symbiote offspring of Carnage that wants to kill Venom for destroying his father. Before moving on to The Last Dance, Venom and some of his friends experience some encounters with a couple of other universes. Because of a multiversal spell cast by Doctor Strange in Spider-Man: No Way Home, Eddie is transported into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Watching a television broadcast by J. Jonah Jameson, Venom recognizes Spider-Man, with Eddie deciding that he should meet the web-slinger. Eddie's MCU visit, however, proves short, with Strange's reversal spell apparently sending him and Venom back to their own world, but not before leaving a piece of the Venom symbiote behind. Back in the SSU, Mrs. Chen meets the Spot during the events of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
You're acting like weird stuff like this happens to you all the time. Can I have some gum?
The trailers for Venom: The Last Dance make it clear that Eddie and the symbiote are now being hunted by multiple parties. As the military tracks Eddie around the world, more symbiotes from Venom's world arrive on Earth. These symbiotes bond to all sorts of local fauna, leading them to transform and attack Venom. Given Venom's original mission to conquer Earth, this hints that the symbiotes may be angry that Venom hasn't achieved his goal. The Last Dance trailers also include Chiwetel Ejiofor playing a currently unnamed military officer hunting for Venom. Interestingly, the trailers contain footage of Ejiofor's soldier investigating the beachside bar from No Way Home, where he recovers the missing symbiote piece. This suggests that Ejiofor's character may have the ability to travel universes in his search for the Venom symbiote. Either that, or Sony haven't been paying attention to their own movies. There are a number of potential enemies who might appear in The Last Dance, with several already glimpsed briefly in trailers for the sequel. In addition to the military and invading symbiotes, Mulligan is slated to return. It's unclear how the toxin symbiote is affecting Mulligan, but a symbiote with a blue glow is seen menacing Venom in the trailers and promos. However, the final theatrical trailer for The Last Dance also teases an unholy antagonist to challenge Venom in the new movie. This trailer includes a long-haired figure sitting on a throne in a shadowy and rocky location. This has since been confirmed to be Knull, god of the symbiotes, and arguably Venom's most powerful enemy in the comic books. Knull's role in The Last Dance is still being kept tightly under wraps, as is the actor who plays him. But given the symbiote's knowledge of the multiverse and Knull's vast powers, Sony may have big plans in store for Venom and the greater SSU. Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven the Hunter are all presumably set in the same universe as Venom. If Sony is hoping to bring its Marvel properties together, a cameo by these movies' characters could take place in The Last Dance. The most likely crossover would be Kraven the Hunter, as Sony would likely want to help promote the SSU movie's debut at the end of 2024. Then there's the matter of the MCU Spider-Man and the long-teased meeting between Hardy's Venom and Holland's Spider-Man.
Hey everyone.
Sony has been talking about the SSU Venom and MCU Spider-Man meeting each other for years. There were even plans for Venom to appear in the climactic battle of No Way Home instead of a brief post-credit scene appearance. With the sequel to No Way Home in development and Knull slated to surface in The Last Dance, Sony could well be setting up another crossover.